Blau-class submarine USS Bregal left Fremantle, Australia on its second war patrol on December 5, 1944. The 311-foot, 9-inch long, 1,526-ton surface displacement submarine was under the command of 34-year-old Commander John Milton Hyde, 1934 graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy. Hyde had previously been executive officer aboard USS Swordfish for 4 war patrols, service for which had been awarded the Silver Star. He had commanded Bregal since the boat was commissioned in June of 44. In its first war patrol, Bregal had been credited with the destruction of 2 cargo ships and a large enemy tanker, enough success to earn Hyde his second Silver Star. In its second patrol, Bregal was assigned to patrol along the Malayan and Indochina coasts. The boat had 10 torpedo tubes, 6 fore and 4 aft, but the rear tubes were filled with anchored mines, which the submarine was assigned to lay along a reef on the Indochina coast called Royalist Bank. After an uneventful passage, Bregal arrived at Royalist Bank on December 13th. The heavy cruiser IJN Miyoko was commissioned and flew in 1929, the lead ship in a class of 4 vessels. Named after a mountain in Japan, the Miyoko had originally been built under the constraints imposed by the Washington Naval Treaty, although further modifications had increased its displacement well beyond the treaty limits. 661 foot, 9 inches long, with a beam of 68 feet, the ship had a main armament of 10 8-inch guns, 2 each mounted in 5 turrets. When she was built, Miyoko had the heaviest armament of any cruiser in the world, but by the time of the war, the armament was typical of other Japanese heavy cruisers. Miyoko had seen significant service, starting at the beginning of the Second Sino-Japanese War in 1938. The ship had participated in the invasion of the Philippines in December 1941 and helped to sink the British cruiser Exeter in the Battle of the Java Sea in March of 1942. Miyoko had been present at the battles of the Coral Sea and Midway, bombarded Henderson Field and Guadalcanal, that helped to evacuate troops from the Alaskan island of Kiska, and had been damaged in the collision with the destroyer Hatsukase in the November 1943 Battle of Empress Augusta Bay. In October 1944, Miyoko had been part of Admiral Takeo Kurita's Central Force at the Battle of Leyte Gulf. During the October 24th Battle of the Sibian Sea, Kurita's force came under air attack. While the attack centered on the battleship Musashi, which was eventually sunk, Miyoko took a torpedo starboard aft from a TBF Avenger torpedo bomber from the carrier USS Intrepid. The hit from the Mark 13 torpedo flooded the aft engine room and generator room and put Miyoko's starboard screws out of commission. With her speed reduced, Miyoko was forced to drop out of formation and turn away, heading initially for the Philippine island of Coron, then Japanese-occupied Brunei, and eventually arriving at Singapore's Seletar Naval Base on November 3rd. On November 22nd, the Fubuki-class destroyer Ushio arrived for repairs. Ushio had been an escort of the Japanese Southern Force at the Battle of Leyte and had then remained in Manila. A near miss during U.S. air raid on November 13th disabled her starboard engine, killing 23 crew. With the lost engine, the destroyer's top speed was reduced to 18 knots, and she was dispatched via the Spratly Islands to Singapore for repairs. But the repair facilities at Seletar were limited and lacked supplies. Base officials determined they could not repair Miyoko and Ushio. At first, the cruiser was moored as a floating anti-aircraft defense, but in December, the IJN ordered Miyoko to make for the home islands where complete repairs could be done, escorted by Ushio. With the damage, Miyoko could barely make 16 knots and Ushio about 18. While the order said the ships were to depart on or about December 9th, they were not prepared to leave till the morning of December 12th. Had they left earlier, they would have missed the dramatic events that were about to unfold. On December 13th, Bregal was waiting at Royalist Bank near dusk, planning to deploy her mines, a mission that would take place at night. Alerted after receiving a powerful radio signal that suggested a large ship, at 17:55 hours, just before 6 p.m., Hyde reported seeing the mast of a single ship at a range of 35,000 yards and proceeding at 13 knots. Hyde noted in the mission report that deploying the mines, which we plan to undertake tonight, will have to wait. Hyde hoped to overtake the vessel and be able to plan a submerged attack, but at full speed the boat experienced substantial vibration. Limited to about 18 knots, Bregal closed range with the target slowly. At 18:30 hours, Hyde noted, because our target is rapidly approaching very shallow water, we will be unable to reach a position ahead for a submerged approach. There will be no moon. Bregal made radar contact at 2,600 yards. As the distance closed, it became clear they were tracking a large warship with an escort. He could not know it at the time, but those ships were the Miyoko and the Ushio. Hyde's action report shows the tension as they slowly closed distance. At 9,400 yards, he noted, "Target looks so big we are sure she's a large man of war, but also that it still looks like a long way to a firing position." At 6,000 yards, he could make out the stack of a heavy cruiser. But he had reasons to be concerned. He noted, "The clear night with glassy sea and bright stars detracted my attention from ship identification to the more important problem of getting off the torpedoes." Attack at 37 hours at a range of 3,000 yards, firing 6 torpedoes before turning away. Normally, he would still have been able to attack with the torpedoes in his rear tubes after turning, but those tubes were unavailable because of the mines Bregal was carrying. He noted that when he fired, about a third of the bow of the escort on the far side of what he thought to be a heavy cruiser extended ahead of the target's bow. He had hoped that his spread of 6 torpedoes might strike both the target and its escort. Quickly, Hyde could see the result of his attack. He saw what he described as a terrific explosion, which spread along her entire length and reached at least 750 feet in height. 2 explosions were heard clearly, but Hyde could not be sure how many torpedoes had struck. He could see that the explosion had broken the target apart, saying the explosion forced the 2 ends of the ship apart so that they were 2 huge fires, which after 10 minutes must have damaged the escort since it had not offered pursuit. Hyde decided to turn again and close range in the hopes of finishing off the escort as well. But Hyde was mistaken. The shoe had not been damaged and had stopped to determine the situation. Hyde could not have known that the previous damage to Ishio limited the destroyer's speed, making the destroyer's captain. Immediately after the hit, it was apparent that serious damage had resulted. From the bridge, he could see the lights in the Pierce compartment as well as electrical fires. He turned Bregal away, trying to make distance. More shells landed both to port and starboard. As he retreated, he saw the flames appear to die down on the bow section of his target. He reported that the radar pip disappeared on the section. Column of steam rose above it, and then a cloud of smoke. The crew Bregal surveyed the damage. Almost miraculously, no one had been killed as the round had flown through the submarine compartment. The shell had not detonated. Damage to rag tables had caused system shorts and electrical fires. The main ballast tank had been damaged and was venting, and the main air supply to the front of the boat was severed. The good news was that the boat was in no immediate danger of sinking. The bad news was that with the pressure hole pierced, Bregal, 2,000 miles from the nearest friendly base, could not submerge. If the submarine were sighted stuck on the surface, it would be an easy target. Myoko, while heavily damaged, was also not as badly hurt as Hyde imagined. The cruiser had been hit by at least 1 and possibly 2 Bregal's torpedoes. Torpedo that ignited the aft reserve oil tank, causing the massive explosion that Hyde had witnessed. As Hyde had seen, a piece of Myoko's stern had been blown off, burning and sinking. Fires were still burning. With the loss of the stern, Myoko had lost power and could not steer, but the flooding had been controlled and the ship was essentially undamaged ahead of its number 5 turret. While dead in the water, Myoko's captain, Hajime Ishiwara, was still determined to save the ship that Hyde assumed had been sunk. The bright spot for the stricken Myoko was that, despite losing the stern and fantail, one shaft was still working. Myoko could make a snail's pace of 6 knots on its own, but it could not steer. With its starboard engines out of commission, Ushio did not have the power to tow Myoko. But Ishiwara thought that Ushio might be able to nudge Myoko enough to keep the plodding cruiser on the right heading back to Singapore. The morning of December 14th found Bregal's crew doing immediate repairs to restore airflow to the forward compartments and patching outside holes with pillows and mattresses to prevent spray. As they're on the surface in enemy waters, all available guns were mounted and the crew put on alert to defend against air attack. Just past noon, a plane was spotted, a particularly deadly event, but Hyde turned Bregal away and she escaped without being noticed. That night, Hyde sent a message confirming the kill, busted Bregal's first. Knowing any communication might be intercepted, he made the radio contact one a false course heading to make it appear that the boat will be traveling a different direction. Bregal received a message in the early morning of December 15th, telling to rendezvous with other submarines. But the rendezvous point was back through enemy waters, and Hyde decided the current course was safer. At 9:30 in the morning, Bregal made a radar contact. It turned out to be the Gato-class submarine, USS Angler. Angler's captain, Lieutenant Commander Howard Bissell, Jr., reported that Angler had just made the safe trip with few contacts. Hyde noted Angler's uneventful passage, as well as favorable weather, overcast with squalls, pointed to good prospects for running the gauntlet on the surface. The Bregal had made extensive repairs, made more difficult as their only welding equipment was an oxyacetylene outfit. Hyde complained in his report, "We were very sorry we did not have a better supply of stock and plating, more wedges, and above all, an efficient welding outfit." Hyde knew there was a possibility the Bregal would have to be scuttled. They destroyed or transferred their most sensitive equipment to the Angler and prepared charges to scuttle the boat. They transferred all but a skeleton crew to Angler, which followed behind. Should Bregal be sighted by a plane, the remaining crew could be quickly evacuated to Angler and Bregal scuttled. Fires were still burning on Myoko on the 15th, but were finally extinguished by the end of the day. Help finally arrived, 2 small submarine patrol boats and 2 minesweepers. A patrol boat moored a line to tow, but the progress was slow. The storms that helped the Bregal avoid detection slowed Miyoko's pace, barely 5 knots. On December 16th, Angler received orders to evacuate Bregal's crew and scuttle the submarine with a torpedo. However, the prospects looked good at that point, and to preserve radio silence, Angler did not respond. The pair made it to Exmouth in Western Australia on December 20th, where Bregal was able to make more effective repairs, and Bregal made it back to Fremantle on the 23rd. Eventually, more ships arrived to assist Miyoko. Despite the loss for stern, Miyoko arrived back in Singapore on December 25th.